Expo SDK 56 is out, and I am so excited to tell you everything that is inside. We've got huge improvements to Expo UI. There are faster builds both locally and in the cloud, and Expo modules are both faster and easier to write. There's also a lot more to talk about, so let's jump right in. Okay, so let's talk about Expo UI first. Expo UI is the easiest way to use both Swift UI on iOS and Jetpack Compose on Android inside of your Expo app. So if you want those buttery, amazing, smooth animations that you know your users will love, Expo UI will help you get there fast. We've been working on this for the past couple of SDK cycles, and it's finally ready for production. Woohoo! So let's talk about some of the new things that are out with it and how you can use it in your app. SDK 56 focuses on three core pieces of Expo UI. There's a new Universal Components API for shared interfaces, stable native APIs, and also drop-in replacements for popular React Native community libraries. So let's talk about the new Universal Components with Expo UI. These are components that work across Android, iOS, and the web, but use the underlying Swift UI and Jetpack Compose and React Native web components under them, but it makes it so that you don't need .android.tsx and .ios.tsx to get native experiences on all of your platforms. And we're providing a bunch of universal components, things like a button component, a switch component, and a bottom sheet. There's a lot more too, so go check out our docs for all of the universal components that you can try. We're also working on stable native APIs, which align Expo UI more closely with the underlying frameworks. There's also a new use native state hook that lets JavaScript control the native state directly. This is really useful for native state-driven animations and form controls. This can enable synchronous, flicker-free text inputs. So if you're building a code editor or a rich text editor, this is massively helpful. Now, it's always been possible to use native components inside of React Native applications, and there are a bunch of community libraries that have allowed this in the past. With Expo UI, since we're backing everything up with Swift UI and Jetpack Compose, we've made drop-in replacements for some of these community libraries. I'll show a list on screen of the ones that we've replaced right here, but there's a lot of them, and most of these you're able just to change the import in your app if you want to take advantage of them, so you should go check those out. When you're building your app, you have to make all different kinds of builds in order to get your app to the app stores. And so with SDK 56, we now have Prebuilt XCFrameworks, which should help your iOS builds build faster. This works out of the box with no configuration needed, so we hope you'll enjoy the speedups. So I know that everyone here loves to write JavaScript code and React code, but sometimes it's nice just to write a little bit of Swift code or a little bit of Kotlin code to be able to get exactly what you need. Now, you could use Expo modules to wrap a native component and then expose it over to the JavaScript side. But with SDK 56, we're kind of realizing a dream we've had for a long time, which is what if you could put a Swift or Kotlin file right next to your JavaScript files, inline? And so we're calling this Inline Modules, and this is an experimental feature that we're really excited about. You can also develop inline modules directly in Android Studio or Xcode or any other IDE, whichever one you prefer. We have a tutorial on how to set up an inline module in your project, so you should go check that out. If you like creating your own custom modules and you want to share those with your team or with others, we've made huge improvements to the Create Expo Module command line tool. First, we've been working on a skill for agents to help you make these, so it's even easier to get started. Next, we have an add platform support command that would, for example, let you add Android support to an existing iOS module that you've made. And now there's a modular template that allows you to pick which features get scaffolded and which platforms your module should target. Let's talk about runtime performance improvements, because when a user runs your app, we want it to be as fast as possible. And we've got two updates, one for Android and one for iOS, that are really exciting. On the Android side, we have a new Kotlin compiler plugin It replaces reflection with build-time code generation for Expo modules on Android. And in our benchmarks, we are seeing roughly 40% faster cold starts and 33% faster first renders with no app side changes required at all. This is pretty cool. On the iOS side, there's a new JSI layer for iOS native modules. Until now, calling a native module in JavaScript on iOS meant crossing 3 separate layers. There's the Swift layer, the Objective-C layer, and the C++ layer. In SDK 56, we removed the Objective-C middle layer entirely by adopting a Swift and C++ interop to talk to JSI directly. Fewer hops means less call overhead, which means faster apps. And we've been seeing significant performance improvements, and we're really excited to share more of those in a blog post. Okay, now it's time for a lightning round of a lot of different updates to individual SDK packages. First, let's talk about the now much more capable Expo file system. Expo file system now reports progress on download filed async. It also makes file picking more capable too. The Expo status bar and Expo navigation bar APIs are now consistent too. So this means you can call status bar.setStyleAuto and also navigation bar.setStyle and auto. They also now share the same interface for their config plugins too, which makes these really easy to set up. The new calendar, contacts, and media library APIs are now stable too. The updated APIs have been redesigned with an object-oriented approach. So items like media assets or individual contacts are now represented as classes, which unlocks new features and makes them easier to work with. Expo widgets for iOS has now been promoted to stable too. Widgets and live activities now have full access to the environment and no longer need to be pre-rendered. There's probably never been a better time to start an Expo project than now. And now when you start one with Create Expo app, it automatically comes with agent-friendly files like AGENTS.md. If you're using Claude Code to develop your app, there are also a couple of plugins that you should install. These plugins can help your agent build, deploy, and debug your Expo and React Native apps accurately. You can also run these plugins with Codex, Cursor, or any other agent by running this command. Expo CLI is now faster too. From running Expo Start to getting to a full bundling server, we're now seeing up to a 30% reduction in load time in the most extreme use cases, like if you're using a complex monorepo. If you've been working with React Native as long as I have, and it's been a while, then you might remember that there used to be multiple different navigation libraries to choose from, and React Navigation stood out from the rest. It's one that we helped develop the 1.0 and 2.0 version of, and then later Satya took it over and has made something pretty incredible. It's actually what Expo Router is built on top of. After a lot of iterations and talking with Satya and working together, we figured out that we needed to fork Expo Router off of React Navigation. This means that in SDK 56, you can run a code mod to switch everything over from the previous Expo Router that relied on React Navigation to the new one. There's also a whole ton of new features with Expo Router in this release too. Like on Android, we've added experimental support for a toolbar. We've also introduced experimental support for a new version of the native stack. This includes initial support for material style headers and predictive back gestures. And also, there's just so much more, so go check out our blog post on what's new there. We're also expanding support for Brownfield apps with our Expo Brownfield package, which is a toolkit for adding React Native views to existing Android and iOS apps. In SDK 56, there's now an experimental option to be able to host multiple Expo Brownfield apps that don't collide with each other. In addition, host apps can now register their own app's turbo module classes. This makes it much easier to expose the host app's capabilities to JavaScript without modifying the inner apps bundle. Now, as with every single SDK, there are a few deprecations to take note of, and also some breaking changes that you should look at while upgrading your app. You can create a new project with SDK 56 with the Create Expo App command line tool. Now, if you're upgrading an existing project to SDK 56, you should try out our new skill for agents so that they can go through and upgrade your app for you. If you'd like to do it yourself though, you can run this command to install all the new dependencies, and also don't forget to run Expo Doctor afterward just to check that everything is okay. These were just the main highlights of the changes in SDK 56, but there's a lot more to discover, so you should go check out the changelog in the description below. Also, I want to give a huge and genuine thank you to everybody who contributed to this SDK cycle. Seriously, thank you. If you want to get more involved in the community, you should check out our Discord. There are thousands of developers there talking about building their apps. And if you want to contribute directly, you can do that by going to our GitHub. I wish you the best of luck upgrading. I hope you really enjoy all the features we've been working on. And until next time, I'll see you later.